Love, we talk about it, chase it, crave it, but do we really understand it? Most people grow up believing love should look a certain way. It should sound romantic, feel intense, and show up in obvious gestures, hugs, texts, I love yous, constant attention. But the truth is, love doesn't always look familiar, especially when it comes from someone who's been through battles they never told you about. Sometimes love doesn't roar, it whispers, it hides behind silence, behind hesitation, behind the fear of getting too close. For some people, love is not about running toward connection, it's about trying not to lose control of emotions that feel too big to handle. We've been conditioned to think that affection equals attention. But what if love isn't about how often someone reaches out? What if it's about why they keep coming back, even when it's hard for them to? What if the moments of distance, the quiet pauses, are not signs of disinterest, but evidence of emotional protection? There are people who love deeply but quietly. They don't always hold your hand in public, they don't always post you online, and they don't always express what they feel in words, but they notice everything. They remember how you take your coffee, what time you wake up, how you like to be spoken to when you're sad. That's their love language, silent understanding. When an avoidant person cares for you, they're often fighting an inner conflict. Their heart wants to connect, but their past wants to protect. Every act of love becomes a tug-of war between desire and fear. That's why love from them might look different, because it's filtered through a lifetime of defense mechanisms. But don't mistake that difference for the absence of emotion. Their love runs deep, it just doesn't always know how to swim to the surface. You might not get the grand gestures, but you'll get the steady presence. You'll get someone who checks on you in ways they can manage, someone who listens even when they don't speak. Love, for them, is not performance, it's persistence. It's the courage to stay connected even when closeness feels unsafe. And that's powerful because it's real. It's not shaped by expectation, it's shaped by truth. You see, if you define love only by how you want it to look, you'll miss the kind of love that's already right in front of you. The quiet kind, the complicated kind, the kind that doesn't fit the picture but still paints something beautiful. So instead of asking, why aren't they showing love the way I want? Ask, how are they showing love in the only way they know how? That shift in perception can change everything. Because love that doesn't look familiar is still love, just in a different form. It's the love that takes courage to give, patience to understand, and awareness to recognize. And once you learn to see it, once you learn to recognize love behind the silence, behind the hesitation, behind the walls, you stop craving perfection and start appreciating authenticity. When someone who's afraid of closeness still chooses to care, that's not weakness. That's transformation, that's love being reborn through courage. So the next time you find yourself confused by someone's quiet affection or gentle distance, remember this. Love doesn't have to look like your story to be real. Sometimes the most unfamiliar form of love is the most genuine of all. We've all felt it, that sting when someone we care about starts pulling away. The silence between messages, the sudden coldness in their tone, the hesitation when you reach out. You start to wonder, did I do something wrong? Did their feelings change? But what if I told you that their distance might not be rejection at all? What if that space is not about losing love, but about protecting themselves from the pain they once felt when they got too close? Some people have learned that love can hurt. They've been through moments where closeness meant betrayal, where trust ended in disappointment. So they build walls, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. That's their armor. And every inch they pull away isn't always a step back from you. Sometimes it's a step back from their own fear. When someone distances themselves, it's easy to take it personally. You think they're losing interest, when in truth, they might be battling emotions they can't yet control. They may crave connection, but connection feels like danger. It threatens their balance, their control, their sense of safety. That's why their love often comes wrapped in contradiction. They want you close, but not too close. They want to open up, but not too fast. They want to love you, but they're terrified that loving you might cost them the peace they've worked so hard to protect. So their distance becomes a form of survival. It's not rejection, it's regulation. It's not avoidance of you, it's avoidance of pain. And the moment you understand that difference, your entire perspective changes. Because love isn't just about drawing people closer. Sometimes love is about understanding why they need space. It's about giving room without resentment. It's realizing that silence doesn't always mean absence, it can mean processing, healing, or fear. Imagine this, a person who's terrified of drowning, standing at the edge of deep water. They want to jump in. They really do, but the last time they did, they nearly lost themselves. That's what emotional closeness feels like to someone with avoidant tendencies. Every step toward connection feels risky. Every moment of intimacy feels like that deep water, so they hold back, not because they don't care, but because they care so deeply that they fear what losing you would do to them. Distance, then, is not a sign that love is fading, it's a sign that love is fighting to stay safe. If you can learn to see their distance not as rejection but as protection, you'll respond with patience instead of pain. You'll understand that love doesn't always move forward in straight lines. Sometimes it pauses, sometimes it retreats, sometimes it hesitates, but it's still there, growing in the shadows. And maybe, just maybe, your understanding becomes the bridge that helps them feel safe enough to return. Because love, when given without pressure, has the power to melt even the strongest defenses. So when someone you love pulls away, take a breath. Don't chase immediately, don't assume the worst. Let your calm become their safety. Because when they see that your love doesn't punish their fear begins to fade. Distance can be a defense, but understanding, that's the cure. When love meets compassion, walls start to fall. And when those walls fall, what's left isn't fear, it's freedom. The freedom to love not because it's safe, but because it's finally understood. Love is not what you say, it's what you do. We live in a world that glorifies words. I love you, I miss you, you mean everything to me. These phrases get thrown around so easily they've almost lost their weight. But for some people, especially those who struggle to express emotion, love doesn't live in language. It lives in action, and that's where many of us miss the truth. We wait for the words, and when we don't hear them, we assume there's no feeling. But love, real love, is often quiet. It's not in what they say, it's in what they show. The person who doesn't know how to express love through words might show it by fixing something that's broken, by checking you got home safe, by remembering the smallest details about your life. They may never say, I care. But they'll prove it in 100 invisible ways that only the heart can recognize. See, actions are the language of the emotionally cautious. It's how they communicate what their words can't carry. For someone who fears vulnerability, words are dangerous. They can be misunderstood, rejected, or used against them. But actions feel safer, more controlled. They can express love without exposure. And yet, their actions often go unnoticed, because we're too busy waiting for something louder, something more obvious. We forget that love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through consistency, through reliability, through the simple act of showing up again and again, even when they don't have to. When someone with an avoidant nature starts showing up for you, that's not casual, that's courage. Because every time they choose to stay, they're pushing past their instinct to run. Every text they send, every call they make, every effort to check on you, that's them saying, you matter. Even if they can't bring themselves to use those exact words. So instead of judging their silence, watch their pattern. Do they care enough to notice when you're not okay? Do they try, in their own way, to bring peace to your storm? Those are the clues. That's where love lives, in the pattern, not the performance. Actions reveal truth. Words can be rehearsed, but consistency can't be faked. And when someone keeps showing up despite their fear, despite their discomfort, it's not by accident. It's by love. There's a reason love that's expressed through action feels different. It's grounded, it's patient, it's real, because when you act from love, you don't need applause, you don't need to prove it, you just do it, and that quiet doing says more than 1,000 promises ever could. If you've ever had someone protect your peace, care for you when you didn't ask, or simply make sure you were okay, that's love in its purest form. Not the kind that screams, but the kind that stays. So stop listening for love only through sound. Start seeing it through behavior, because love that speaks through action is the kind that will never stop speaking even in silence. And maybe that's the lesson we all need to learn, that love isn't found in grand declarations. It's found in the everyday choices, the choice to stay, to care, to show up, and to protect. Because when someone's actions align with their heart, you don't need the words. You feel the truth. You see it. You live it, and that kind of love doesn't need to be spoken, because it's already being shown. Vulnerability, a word that terrifies most people, especially those who have spent their lives building walls just to survive. To the avoidant heart, vulnerability doesn't feel like connection. It feels like danger. It's the moment the armor comes off. It's the moment they risk being seen, truly seen, and for them, that's not easy. You see, some people grew up learning that love isn't safe. Maybe they were hurt when they opened up. Maybe the people they trusted most were the ones who disappointed them the deepest. So they built walls, strong, silent, unshakable walls to keep the pain out. But here's what they never realized: those same walls also keep love out. So when someone who's avoidant lets you in even a little, it's not just affection, it's courage. It's not weakness, it's a declaration. Because for them, showing emotion isn't natural, it's a battle. Every word they share, every glimpse they give you into their inner world, costs them something, and that's why it's so sacred. When they begin to open up, when they tell you about their fears, their dreams, their insecurities, you're not just hearing stories, you're witnessing trust being born. That's their version of I love you. It's their way of saying, I feel safe enough with you to show who I really am. Think about that for a moment. Because for someone who's avoided emotional exposure all their life, vulnerability is love. It's love disguised as confession. It's love wrapped in nervous laughter. It's love hiding behind cautious words like maybe, I guess, or I'm fine. But you can feel it, that subtle tremble in their voice, that shift in their eyes. It's real. And when they start to let their guard down, it's not because they've stopped fearing. It's because they've started trusting. That's the power of presence, when your calm, consistent energy gives someone the safety to step out from behind their mask. Vulnerability doesn't always look poetic. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it comes out as frustration, hesitation, or silence. But beneath that, there's love fighting to be seen, because when someone avoids emotion, opening up feels like walking barefoot on broken glass. It hurts, but it's worth it if it leads them to you. So when an avoidant person shares something personal, don't overlook it. Don't rush it, honor it, because what they're really saying is, here's a piece of me I don't show anyone else. That's not just communication, that's transformation. And here's the truth: love without vulnerability isn't love, it's performance. Real connection only happens when two people are willing to be seen, scars and all. So when someone allows themselves to be vulnerable with you, they're giving you a gift. Most people never receive access to their truth. You can't force vulnerability out of someone who's afraid of it. You can only inspire it by creating an environment of safety. When they feel that they won't be judged, rushed, or rejected, their fear begins to dissolve. And in its place, love starts to breathe. That's why the quiet moments matter, the long pauses, the hesitant confessions, the trembling honesty that comes out after a deep breath. Those are sacred because they show you that love doesn't always roar. Sometimes it trembles, sometimes it whispers. When an avoidant person becomes vulnerable, it's not about surrendering control, it's about choosing trust over fear. It's about believing that this time love won't hurt, that this time they're safe. So remember this: when they open up, they're not just showing you who they are, they're showing you that they believe in you. That's their love language. That's their way of saying, I trust you with the parts of me I've spent my whole life protecting. And that, my friend, is love in its purest, most courageous form. Because vulnerability isn't weakness. It's strength disguised as softness. It's love daring to step out from behind fear, one heartbeat at a time. Connection. It's what we all crave: to be seen, heard, understood, and loved for who we are. But here's the truth most people never realize: you can't build a true connection without understanding. Because without understanding, love turns into assumption. And assumption always leads to pain. When someone loves differently than you, when they pull away instead of leaning in, when they need space instead of comfort, when they protect their emotions instead of sharing them, it's easy to take it personally. You think, why are they so cold? Why can't they just open up? But what if their behavior isn't about you at all? What if it's about how they've learned to survive? See, for the avoidant heart, love feels both beautiful and dangerous. It's something they want but don't know how to hold. They crave closeness, yet closeness feels like exposure. So they move carefully, they test safety, they retreat when things feel too real. And if you don't understand that rhythm, you'll think they're rejecting you when in truth, they're trying to protect themselves from losing you. Understanding changes everything. It takes you from reaction to compassion, from frustration to patience, from confusion to connection. When you understand that their silence isn't rejection but regulation, that their space isn't avoidance but self-preservation, your love transforms from demanding to healing. Because real love doesn't say, "Do it my way." It says, "I see you even when you move differently." Think about it. Every relationship that lasts isn't built on constant harmony, it's built on awareness. Awareness that not everyone loves the same way. Some people show love through words, others show it through actions, and some, the quiet ones, show it through their presence, through consistency, through the simple fact that they stay, even when staying feels hard. When you understand someone's emotional blueprint, you stop fighting their patterns and start embracing their humanity. You begin to meet them where they are, instead of forcing them to fit where you want them to be. That's how connection grows, not through control, but through acceptance. True connection isn't about changing someone. It's about knowing them. It's about listening beyond words, seeing beyond behavior, and feeling beyond fear. It's about holding space for their evolution, while remembering that love doesn't always look like the move. Sometimes it's quiet, complex, and deeply real. Understanding doesn't mean tolerating pain without boundaries. It means recognizing that growth takes time and that some hearts unfold slowly. It means realizing that empathy can heal what pressure can destroy. Because when someone who's afraid of love finally feels understood, something magical happens. The walls they built for protection begin to crumble. And in their place grows trust. That's when connection becomes real, not because you forced it, but because you created safety for it to flourish. So when you love someone who loves differently, don't rush their process. Don't demand their vulnerability on your schedule. Stand firm in compassion, lead with patience, show them through your steadiness that love doesn't have to be painful, because the truth is, understanding is the highest form of love. It's saying, "I accept you even when I don't fully understand you. I'll stay curious instead of critical. I'll listen instead of label." And when you love like that, when you love with awareness, not expectation, you create a connection that can't be broken. Because true connection isn't about finding someone who loves perfectly. It's about learning to love imperfectly together. That's where healing happens. That's where love becomes powerful. That's where hearts finally meet, not in perfection, but in understanding.